This sculpture I made here of a stegosaur is based on bones we dug up in Colorado, near Dinosaur, Colorado. In the same quarry were a couple of sauropods, a couple of allosaurs, some crocodiles, turtles, a little bitty dinosaur about that big. The thing about the quarry there is those quarries are all over Colorado, Wyoming, and everywhere. And a quarry, they're just solid bones. This thing's like 4 or 5 feet thick, almost solid bones. And they go for miles and miles and miles. I found one site that went for a half mile, and I had to quit because it ran into federal land. It was a layer of rock 3 feet thick. I have a section in the back, and it's 1/3 bones and 2/3 cement rock. And that's just one layer. And I know that goes for a half mile, and you can see it going for miles more. It goes all the way across the state into Utah. So I get really frustrated with people that say, well, there's no evidence of Noah's flood. Well, what do you think all this stuff is? You know, how do you explain that? Well, these things drown in a creek, what, 18 inches deep? The little baby wouldn't drown in a creek 18 inches deep. So the story they've been telling us now for 150 years, having been involved in this stuff for 30 years now, it just doesn't hold water. Dinosaurs were all over the place, and they were living in forests 400 feet tall, ferns 90 feet tall. And they didn't have to go anywhere. They just ate that fern and lived and ate that fern and moved to the next tree. They didn't have to migrate anywhere unless they just wanted to. They had water coming up out of the ground. Everything was green and verdant. So they say, well, dinosaurs are rare. No, they're not rare at all. There's more dead dinosaurs than living cattle. By 100 factor. But they're hard to dig up, yeah, because they're a lot of times in stone and they're all busted up. They're hard to get out of the ground. But they were everywhere at the time of Noah's flood. Well, after the flood, the weather changed. It was a radical weather change. So they couldn't live very long after the flood, so they just disappeared into the tropics. And today you have sightings in Africa and South America of dinosaurs in the tropics. In fact, one was killed in England back in the 1800s, like one the size of this velociraptor. Apparently the guy was walking down the lane with his cane, and it jumped out in front of it, and he hit it with a cane and killed it. St. George killed a dinosaur of some kind. There are all kinds of reports all over England in the old days of living dinosaurs coming up out of lagoons, go back in the lagoon, go into their cave, come out, eat sheep, kill people, and would finally be killed off with some guy who became a hero and got the king's daughter, you know. Those stories are all true, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them. And they're all over the world. There's depictions of them all over the world. So to say that dinosaurs went extinct 200 million years ago, then 120 million years ago, then 80 million and 65 million, just bull. It's just baloney. They all got buried at the same time. And they're buried in groups because they lived in groups. So really, to me, there's evidence but nothing but the flood all over the world. If you look at dinosaurs, that's what you're looking at. Well, were there men alive at the same time? Yeah. Man was created on the same day these things were. If the Bible is true, man, the best man that ever lived, the most man, the most advanced man was created the same day this thing was. So if the Bible's not true, then you got the evolution story. Well, the evolution story just doesn't hold up. When you find man tracks, pots and hammers and gold chains and stuff in the strata that's supposed to be 400 million years old, before mammals even, well, that denies the stuff is that old, or man has been around for 400 million years. Which do you want? Neither. They're going to have either. I think what it is man has always been around. You don't find a lot of men with dinosaurs because they're big lizards. They have tails that can kill you, you know, if they swung them. They're in swampy river bottom land and all that. You know, people don't go in there. Like the swamps in Florida and Texas. Yeah, you can take a boat across it. You don't live in there. But the animals do. Crocodiles are fine. Dinosaurs would live in there. But you do find a lot of human tracks, or tracks of a dinosaur that had a human foot. They make fun of that down here at this Texas State Park. It's because they look so human. They have to say, well, yeah, they're human tracks, but it's just a dinosaur. Well, you know, if you don't tell that to little kids, go ahead, but that's really not the facts. It looks like a human track, therefore it must be a human track. It's in with a dinosaur tracks you're saying are 80 million years old. Well then, either they're both that old or they're not that old. I'm saying they're not that old. How do you get tracks upon tracks upon tracks that haven't been eroded? It's because during the flood, you have water rising. You have the moon phase. So the tide comes in, the tide goes out 12 hours later. Well, the tide and the effect of the moon does something to sediment. So the sediment is occurring all over the world, coming up out of the earth, settling down in vast layers over the world. And the moon phase is causing limestone clay, or something is, because that's what you got, limestone clay. Dinosaurs walk through the limestone, it gets covered, they walk through the clay. Then it gets covered, they walk through the limestone. Well, why would you have pristine tracks in the clay if that clay, as soft as it is, was there for 100 years, or 10 years, or a day? It says no, it was laid down quickly. A few hours later this one, a few hours later that one. And so you got dinosaurs going northwest, and that's about the only trails that are going northwest. It's not where they lived. Maybe a herd won't come through, but they're going northwest to get to high ground. So to me, all that stuff denies, it says rapid burial, and because that strata goes around the world, you have to say it's a worldwide rapid burial. The reason they can't accept that is because atheists have dominated the academic community and the national parks and the national museums for the last 50 to 100 years. And that's a story they've been telling. If they don't tell it, they get fired. Or if they don't tell it, they don't get hired. So now it's called science. And I don't think it is science. I think they're denying the truth. If science is truth, then let's tell the truth. That's what I'm saying.